am a lowly omega. In my quest for conception, I have imprisoned the young master of the Gu family, Gu Jing'an. He berates me as a perverse wretch, demanding that I refrain from laying a finger on him. Yet, when the moment arrives, he becomes frantic. Do you even know what you're doing? Your movements are so sluggish. Are you merely sharpening your tools? I'm longing for a little one of my own, yet I am merely a subpar omega, with a minuscule chance of conceiving. The doctor has informed me that only a top-tier alpha can facilitate my pregnancy. My heart plummeted to the depths of despair. Even ordinary alphas might not deign to notice someone like me, let alone the rarefied top-tier alphas. These exceptional beings are as elusive as endangered species, and I may never cross paths with one in my lifetime. With a sigh, I shed my work attire and made my way through the back door of the bar, preparing to head home. After a few steps, I spotted a young man lying motionless on the ground not far away, as if he had been struck down. It was 3 in the morning, and the vicinity was devoid of any other souls. I approached him to investigate, and as I crouched down, the overwhelming scent of alcohol assaulted my senses, forcing me to cover my nose. With my free hand, I turned his face toward the light of the street lamp, revealing his striking features. His delicate features and fair skin rendered him almost impossibly beautiful. It was clear he had indulged far too much, now utterly incapacitated. As I examined him, a sense of familiarity washed over me. He seemed to resemble someone I had seen before. After a moment of reflection, I finally captured a fleeting image in my mind. The young scion of the Gu family had delayed his maturation into adulthood, much to the distress of the elder Gu, who sought the wisdom of esteemed doctors, yet no answers were forthcoming. Finally, on the day of his 20th birthday celebration just last month, he transformed into an alpha, his potent pheromones overwhelming the entire villa and incapacitating all present except for the betas. Subsequently, he was taken to the hospital, where it was determined that his pheromone classification was an extraordinary S grade. This incident had made headlines, dominating the news cycle for an entire week. If my memory serves me correctly, the young man before me is none other than Gu Jing'an, the fleeting figure I glimpsed on television. Had fortune truly bestowed upon me a top-tier alpha? My heart soared at the prospect, envisioning an adorable little baby joyfully rushing toward me, sweetly calling me daddy. I felt as though the heavens were smiling down upon me, and I offered a heartfelt prayer of gratitude. Grandfather, I promise to honor you. I hoisted Gu Jing'an into my vehicle, humming a cheerful tune as I drove home. Oh, and on the way, I made a stop to procure some rope, chains, and handcuffs. After a refreshing shower, I bound Gu Jing'an securely and, utterly exhausted, collapsed into a deep slumber. Upon waking, I found Gu Jing'an still asleep. I perched at the head of the bed, propping my chin on my hands as I admired his beauty. I had heard that those who sleep soundly possess robust kidneys. With this thought in mind, I eagerly tapped his face. Wake up, it's time to rise. Gu Jing'an stirred, his eyes still clouded with confusion. Beneath his long, thick lashes, his enchanting peach blossom eyes slightly upturned, exuding an irresistible allure. Suddenly, a line from a script popped into my head, and I blinked my big eyes, grinning widely. Little Gu, would you like a wife? Gu Jing'an paused for 3 seconds, then squinted at me, assessing my presence. Who are you? Why am I in your bed? I kindly reminded him, this is my home. Only then did he realize the gravity of the situation. Upon recognizing his own state of undress, his expression collapsed into one of horror. His handsome face drained of color, then flushed crimson, and he let out a furious shout. What the hell? He glared at me with a ferocity that suggested he wished to rend me to pieces. He articulated each word slowly. You seek death. It was no surprise that Gu Jing'an reacted so vehemently. He was entirely unclothed, save for a small bare blanket draped over his midsection. Looking down, his legs were forcibly spread wide apart, shackled at the foot of the bed. Glancing up, his hands were handcuffed and connected to a collar suspended above him. He appeared utterly at my mercy. Last night, I had been too fatigued to contemplate the implications of my actions, only thinking of the convenience it offered. In hindsight, it now seemed as if I harbored peculiar proclivities. I cleared my throat, feeling a twinge of guilt, and earnestly stated, do not be alarmed. I merely wish to borrow your little tadpole. Once I am pregnant, I will safely return you home and will not trouble you again. Seeing that Gu Jing'an's expression remained less than pleasant, I hastened to add, attempting to negotiate. Of course, I will not take from you without recompense. I can offer you money, or whatever else you desire, as long as it is within my means. However, upon hearing this, Gu Jingyan appeared even more incensed, his exquisite countenance contorting in rage, his chest heaving violently. If you dare to touch me, I will make you pay. If looks could kill, I would have been obliterated by Gu Jingyan's glare. Fearing that his fury would escalate, I gently patted his chest, attempting to soothe him. My fingertips accidentally brushed against a delicate spot, causing Gu Jingyan to shudder, his reaction stark as he shouted, "Get your filthy hands off me." To be honest, I do not relish coercing others, for a fruit that is forced is seldom sweet. However, on the flip side, I was merely seeking to borrow a seed. I had no intention of forming a lasting bond with him, so why concern myself with sweetness? After all, he was bound and could do little to resist my whims. Ignoring Gu Jingyan's piercing glare, I maneuvered to the space between his legs and lifted the blanket. With the barrier removed, Gu Jingyan's physique was laid bare before me, broad shoulders, a slim waist, long legs, and an impressive 8-pack of abdominal muscles. What are you doing? Gu Jingyan's complexion shifted dramatically as he witnessed my actions. Panic setting in. A sudden urge to tease him washed over me. I licked my lips, donning a mischievous grin. Gu Jingyan appeared momentarily stunned, but as realization dawned, his face flushed crimson. Stammering, he finally managed to utter, "You pervert." It was hardly a stinging rebuke. The young master, a favored child of fortune, had been pampered from a tender age, his skin flawless and porcelain-like. His anger only heightened his allure, a faint blush coloring his cheeks. I swallowed hard, marveling at how someone could embody such perfection from head to toe, striking every chord of my desires. I lowered my head and bit into the inner thigh of Gu Jingyan. He gasped, and once again, a tirade of curses escaped him. I turned my head, and Gu Jingyan's voice escalated. Unbeknownst to me, the room's atmosphere had shifted. The harsh words had morphed into soft gasps. Curious, I dared to meet his gaze, only to find him staring back at me, his lips slightly parted and eyes lowered. At that moment, a gust of wind billowed the curtains, allowing a shaft of sunlight to illuminate my face. Gu Jingyan's expression shifted, his gaze becoming fixed and distant, lost in thought. After all, he was indeed the favored son of fortune, blessed with a prestigious lineage, striking looks, and the rare S-grade pheromones of an alpha. Even in this vulnerable position, his beauty remained impeccable. Yet here I was, on the verge of sharing an intimate encounter with someone of such high caliber, destined to bear a child that would inherit his genes. I would surpass 99 of the population, while the remaining 1 would be his future wife. The thought brought me amusement. Words escaped me, and I simply blinked at Gu Jingyan. In response, he glowered, snapping, "What are you staring at?" He pressed his lips together, his expression betraying an awkwardness as he turned his head away. At that moment, I felt a tightening in my throat. The sky seemed to cave in as Gu Jingyan's lips brushed against mine. Thus, Gu Jingyan seemed to have experienced a revelation, his mind clearing. He ceased his resistance and his vitriol. Everything was proceeding smoothly, save for the fact that he could not seem to tear his gaze away from me. I fumbled as I attempted to remove my trousers, unable to help but plead, "Could you please stop staring at me?" Even the most audacious individual would feel a twinge of embarrassment in such a scenario. Yet Gu Jingyan flared up in indignation. "My eyes are on my body. I shall look wherever I please, and you have no say in the matter. I'm only feeling embarrassed now, but where was that embarrassment when you were tearing off my clothes?" With that, I huffed softly, my gaze returning to my hands tightly gripping my pants. Indeed, it was not my place to intervene. I loathed myself for not purchasing the eye mask when the clerk suggested it last night. Reluctantly, I peeled off my pants, and that penetrating gaze shifted downwards, landing on my thighs. Gu Jingyan's eyes darkened slightly, and I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something peculiar about his expression. It resembled a dog spotting a bone. A chill ran down my spine. Surely he didn't genuinely want to devour me? I acknowledged my guilt, but it hardly warranted a death sentence. After a moment of inaction on my part, Gu Jingyan's impatience grew palpable. "Hey, what are you dawdling for? Can you hurry up?" I discerned the urgency in his tone, regarding him with a mix of confusion and incredulity. "No, my friend, are you misled? Is this truly appropriate?" He seemed to realize the absurdity of the situation and quickly clarified, "Don't think I've consented. I'm merely stimulated by your pheromones." My astonishment deepened. "You can smell my pheromones?" When I underwent differentiation, I emitted no pheromones whatsoever. Moreover, I couldn't detect anyone else's, remaining as bland as a beta. For a long time, I believed I had transformed into a beta until one day, overwhelmed by a fiery heat and swollen glands, I laboriously made my way to the hospital for an examination, only to discover I was actually an omega, and the symptoms were a result of my estrus. Inferior omegas possess pheromones too, albeit exceedingly faint. So faint that even I couldn't perceive them. No one had ever detected my pheromones. Gu Jing'an was the first. Elated, I straddled Gu Jing'an's abdomen, lifted his head, and leaned down to present my glands before him. Quick, tell me what it smells like. His head resting on my shoulder shifted slightly, and I felt a heavy, scorching breath fan against my glands, eliciting a ticklish sensation. As someone who had always identified as a beta, I was entirely oblivious to the fact that offering my glands to an alpha signified an invitation. Fearing he might not catch the scent clearly, I pressed closer despite the itch. Gu Jing'an's body tensed instantaneously, his hard abs pressing against me uncomfortably, prompting me to shift. Then, I heard an exasperated voice in my ear. Don't tease me anymore. Bewildered, I raised my head, brushing against something soft. It was a fleeting contact, and I paid it little mind, my thoughts solely occupied with the pheromones. Did you figure it out? Gu Jing'an remained silent, his eyes fixated on my left cheek. Had I gotten something dirty on my face? Instinctively, I reached up to touch my face, finding nothing amiss. I inquired again, and he begrudgingly replied, "It smells like shit." My heart sank. Gu Jing'an's expression was far from pleasant, indicating he was indeed speaking the truth. I felt like crying. Whose pheromones smelled like excrement? But soon, my resilient psyche adapted to this reality. After all, no one else could detect it. I could even use it as leverage against Gu Jing'an. I patted his face and threatened, "You better behave and get me pregnant, or I'll suffocate you with my pheromones every day." To my surprise, his cheeks flushed at my words. "If we're doing it, let's do it." I found Gu Jing'an utterly fascinating. He had been so resistant before, yet now he seemed entirely accepting. I had barely settled when he grew anxious. "Do you even know what you're doing? Why are you taking so long, sharpening your knives?" The discomfort was already considerable, and Gu Jing'an's incessant verbal prodding only heightened my irritation. I glared at him. "Easier said than done. Why don't you give it a try? Unlock the handcuffs." Gu Jing'an genuinely wanted to take charge, shaking his wrist to signal me to free him. Seeing my hesitation, he darkened his gaze and continued, "I promise. I won't run, I won't hit you, and I'll only you." The weight of his emphasis on the last two words was palpable and tinged with a hint of menace. Couldn't help but chuckle. How had my young master turned into this? After weighing the pros and cons carefully, I decided to release him. After all, this task was too exhausting. It was best left to someone more capable, like a person with a physique fit for a stud. Yet this decision cost me dearly. Initially, I marveled at the sheen of sweat on his forehead and the flush on his cheeks, relishing the sensation of lying down, my hands exploring his rock-hard abs while my mouth was not idle. "You're amazing, young master. So fierce. You could charm even the dead." This prompted Gu Jing'an to cover my mouth while gripping my hand, his expression a mixture of anger and embarrassment as he warned, "If you keep that up, I won't hold back." I chuckled, revealing my small fangs, unconcerned as I retorted, "All right, I want to see just how you won't hold back." No sooner had I spoken than an alpha's pheromones, 10 times stronger than the norm, flooded over me. Soon, tears streamed down my face, and despite the blurriness of my vision, I crawled away with trembling legs, pleading for it to stop. But I had barely made it a few steps when a hand yanked me back. The figure behind me pressed against my body, turning my face to force me to look back. He licked the tears from my cheeks and leaned in closer to my lips. Just as our mouths were about to meet, I summoned the last vestiges of my rationality to cover my mouth, my voice quavering, "Not here. We weren't in a romantic relationship. Why should we kiss?" Yet, the person behind me clearly held a different view, responding to my refusal with irritation. "I want to." He forcefully pried my hand away, leaning in with a chilling minty scent. My breath was stolen, and my sanity crumbled completely. Simultaneously, an overwhelming sense of unease swelled within me. My hands grasped for something until a hand intertwined with mine, inseparable. My heart steadied as I sank into him. Eventually, my consciousness dulled, and I vaguely felt a heated hand resting on my lower abdomen. As someone whispered devilish words in my ear, "Aren't you wanting to get pregnant? This little bit won't suffice." In my dreams, I felt a gaze affixed to me, which was quite discomforting. I opened my eyes to find a handsome face, one that could incite both admiration and envy, staring intently at me. Took me a moment to realize. Oh, this was the young master I had confined. We had quite the eventful night. Gu Jingen's arm circled my waist, and he offered a bashful smile. You're awake. Honestly, his face was a masterpiece of beauty. Especially when he smiled, it could steal one's soul. I suspected he might be the reincarnation of a lightbulb spirit, given how he illuminated everything around him. The realization that we were extremely close struck me. Our breaths mingled, our faces mere inches apart, and I felt something hard pressing against me, our legs intertwined. Was one night not enough? When I shifted back slightly, I was met with a wave of soreness, as if I had been thoroughly beaten, particularly in my waist and knees. Not only that, after going a day and night without sustenance, my stomach was so empty that it felt as if my front and back were pressed together. Meanwhile, the culprit appeared rosy-cheeked and full of vitality, wearing an innocent smile that seemed almost endearing. Damn it! The more I thought about it, the angrier I became, unable to endure any longer. I raised my hand and unhesitatingly slapped him twice. Are you taking this opportunity to get back at me? Gu Jingen was momentarily stunned by my strikes, his charming peach blossom eyes widening in disbelief. He covered his face and exclaimed, You dare hit me? I defiantly glared back at him, affirming my actions. Somehow, this escalated into a staring contest between us. Two stubborn individuals, locked in a gaze that rendered the world around us irrelevant, until tears of frustration welled up in my eyes. Gu Jingen sat up abruptly, clutching his chest, his ears flushed crimson. You cheated. His reaction caused the blanket to slip from my chest down to my waist. Then I noticed his Adam's apple bobbing. Never mind, I won't hold it against you, I replied, my voice slightly hoarse. I looked at him, puzzled. He was indeed a curious and peculiar person. I decided to get out of bed and distance myself from this oddity. However, upon seeing me about to leave, Gu Jingen hastily leaned over, bracing himself above me, and awkwardly uttered, It's my first time. After saying that, he waited eagerly for my response. I racked my brain but couldn't discern his intentions. To prevent him from causing any more trouble, I showered him with compliments. Wow, for your first time you were incredible. I feel so fortunate. We can definitely have a chubby baby in the future. Flattered, he blushed at the praise. Couldn't help but chuckle. Gu Jingen stared at me, dazed, then suddenly leaned down and planted a kiss on my lips, seriously declaring, I will take responsibility for you. Seeing the sincerity in Gu Jingen's demeanor, I realized he was not joking. My laughter faded. This was serious. Due to the unfortunate circumstances of my upbringing, I had become averse to both marriage and romance. I opened my mouth to clarify, but Gu Jingen cupped my face and kissed me again, silencing my words. After some contemplation, I figured that allowing Gu Jingen to harbor feelings of responsibility might be more advantageous for me. Thus, I resolved to remain silent. After all, I didn't need him to take responsibility. I could simply send him back quietly when the time came. I was aware that my actions were unfair to Gu Jingen, but what could I do? I was not a good person. What kind of decent person would resort to such captivity? Time passed swiftly, and before I knew it, Gu Jingen and I had spent a month together. He seemed quite eager to engage in this affair, eagerly watching me whenever I returned home. Why are you back so late? Have you forgotten about me? He complained, a hint of grievance in his voice. Though he grumbled, his hands swiftly undressed him, and he lay there obediently, exuding an air of someone awaiting my affection. I swore I wasn't manipulating him. Ever since Gu Jingen mentioned taking responsibility, his demeanor toward me had undergone a complete transformation. He became obedient, honest, and rather clingy, never once considering escape. Therefore, I only placed a chain around his left ankle, allowing him enough length to move freely within the room. After a month of confinement, Gu Jingen's skin had grown even paler, and I noticed several scratches on his body, remnants of my unconscious grip. Embarrassed, I diverted my gaze and took a sip of water, stating, We won't be doing anything today. Gu Jingen sprang up, hastily crossing the room to stand before me, his expression frantic. Why not, baby? Did I do something wrong? I had always been thick-skinned, and even in my candid encounters with Gu Jingen, I had never felt shame. However, his calling me baby sent a flush to my cheeks. I set down my cup and said, Please don't call me baby. Gu Jingen misinterpreted my words. Is it because I called you baby that you don't want to? Then I won't call you that anymore. Please don't be mad at me, alright? He then nuzzled my face with his nose, his lips brushing against my chin in a manner reminiscent of a spoiled puppy. It was both ticklish and strangely comforting. I must admit, I found it hard to resist Gu Jingan's charm. I explained, I'm not angry, as I wrapped my arms around the person nestled in my embrace. Unable to contain my joy any longer, I shared, I'm pregnant, Gu Jingan. Thank you for helping me fulfill my wish. Heaven knows, when I saw 2 lines appear on the pregnancy test, my hands trembled with anticipation, fearing I had made a mistake. I even made a trip to the hospital to confirm the result before I could finally relax. After I shared the news, I noticed Gu Jingan pause, his gaze dropping as he reached to touch my belly. After a moment, with a hint of trepidation in his voice, he asked, if you're pregnant, does that mean we can't? The doctor hadn't mentioned such a thing. I answered honestly, not necessarily. Gu Jingan looked up at me. Then why not today? Of course, it was because I intended to send him back once my goal was achieved, but I could never voice such thoughts. I quickly retrieved a bottle of wine I had bought on the way home. Because something good has happened today. We must celebrate. You can't drink while pregnant, Gu Jingan remarked, furrowing his brow as he snatched the bottle from my hands and tossed it into the trash. I exclaimed in surprise, bending down to retrieve it, my mouth moving faster than my mind as I said, then I won't drink. You drink. I hadn't realized how wrong that sounded. Standing up, I found Gu Jingan's captivating eyes fixed intently on me, filled with emotions I couldn't decipher. Why must I drink? He stepped closer, his warm breath brushing against my face, suddenly stating, baby, you wouldn't want to abandon me, would you? My heart raced, nearly giving me a fright. How did he know? Had I revealed something? No. He must be trying to rattle me. I feigned calmness, forcing a flattering smile. Of course not. Why would you think that? Gu Jingan scrutinized me for a long moment, my smile growing stiff, until he finally broke into a smile of his own. I trust you, baby. In the end, Gu Jingan did drink the wine. Though his tolerance was poor, he was out cold after just 1 glass. Yet, his demeanor remained gentle, quietly resting his head on the table. I gazed at his profile, a twinge of sadness washing over me. Deep down, I realized I was becoming somewhat attached to him. A month of companionship was not trivial. Even caring for a cat would elicit feelings, let alone a person. But all of this was stolen from me. The chasm between our social classes was too vast. Akin to the dramas portraying the fates of a poor boy and a rich boy, there could never be a happy ending. I could never keep him imprisoned in this small room forever. Without me, he would undoubtedly fare better. The most crucial aspect was that I couldn't reconcile my heart with these thoughts. Once, my parents had been deeply in love, but within a few years, their relationship devolved into arguments, infidelity, abuse, and a disdain for me that manifested in their own violence. Eventually, they separated and formed new families, leaving me behind in isolation. Even now, I couldn't let go of those memories. The reason I wished for a child was to discover whether loving my own offspring would be difficult. With that thought, my heart felt lighter. I unlocked the shackles around Gu Jingan's ankles, gently caressing his wrists, and sighed, from now on you are free. No sooner had I spoken than a furious voice erupted from above. Xie Yuan, you deceitful scoundrel. The voice was thunderous, startling me and causing me to lose my balance and fall to the ground, the keys slipping from my grasp. I looked up in shock. Gu Jingan, who had been lying down, suddenly sat up, his eyes devoid of any drunkenness, filled instead with rage at my deception. You deceived me. How could you betray my trust? I retorted softly. Did you not feign drunkenness to fool me? His face flushed with anger, and he responded indignantly, you dare to retort. His gaze drifted to a spot behind me, hesitating for a moment. My curiosity piqued. I was about to turn around to see. Gu Jingan crouched down, placing his hands on either side of me. I was encircled by him, the faint scent of mint wafting around my nose. With a look of grievance, he lamented, you promised you wouldn't abandon me, yet in the blink of an eye, you are ready to cast me aside. Do you even comprehend how hurt I am? As he drew near, I noticed that Gu Jingan's eyes were also tinged with red, as if he were on the verge of tears. Instantly, a wave of guilt washed over me.
He sheepishly apologized. I'm sorry.
Indeed, I had provoked him and yet wished to evade responsibility. I would have preferred if Gu Jingan had scolded me further. It would have been less burdensome on my conscience. But he cautiously implored, baby, would you hold me? My guilt deepened, and without a second thought, I embraced him. Gu Jingyan shifted in my arms, and I assumed he sought a more comfortable position, until something cold brushed against my ankle. Then I heard a crisp click. I looked down, my vision clouded with darkness. Gu Jingyan had fastened the handcuffs I had just removed from him around my ankles. This deceiver, I gasped. Gu Jingyan, what are you doing? Unlock this at once. He held me tightly, declaring, I will not let you leave me. Remembering that the key had fallen nearby, I pushed him away with all my might. However, after searching thoroughly, I could not find it. Looking for this? Gu Jingyan dangled the key before me. I reached out to snatch it, but he carelessly tossed it out the window. Gone. My fury escalated, and I clenched my fist to strike him. Gu Jingyan did not evade. He took my punch head-on. The spot I struck began to visibly swell and redden. Is this how much you wish to leave me? He gazed at me with sorrowful eyes, tears streaming down his face. What is it that I lack? Tell me and I shall change. His sobs were fragmented and pitiful. My heart softened, and my anger dissipated. Yet, I knew the matter required clarification. I locked eyes with him, pointed at my chest, and said earnestly, Gu Jingyan, I have a mental block. I do not trust love. I do not believe anyone could genuinely care for me or wish to be with me. I am also unwilling to fall for anyone else. Even if you confine me, it is of no use. A person accustomed to malice finds it exceedingly difficult to believe in the goodness of the world. Then why did you pursue me? Why not express this sooner? What good does it do to say it now? Gu Jingyan firmly grasped my hand, placing it over his heart. It has already taken a liking to you. Unless you compel it to cease, you must be with me, regardless of the cost. To validate his claim, his heart raced rapidly, pounding against my palm, sending an electric thrill coursing through my body. In that instant, I felt a tingling sensation in my heart and mind. Momentarily flustered, I withdrew my hand. This route was unfeasible. I resolved to persuade him differently. We are a juxtaposition of opposites. I counted on my fingers. You are an exemplary alpha, handsome, young, affluent, while I am a subpar omega, average in appearance, older, impoverished. See, being with me is a disservice to you. It is akin to a beautiful flower planted in a heap of dung. Ah, that was disingenuous. I relish it. I want to be that flower. Gu Jingyan remained unmoved, stubborn as a mule. I insisted that I truly could not, and he countered, how would you know unless you tried? I questioned whether he understood human language, and he retorted that I needed to speak in a comprehensible manner. Thus, we exchanged banter back and forth. After 20 rounds, I was exhausted. I threw down the gauntlet. Even if you possess my body, you shall never possess my heart. I turned and lay on the bed. Soon, the silence of the room was shattered by a loud declaration. I do not care. The words reverberated. Noticing my indifference, Gu Jingyan's eyes reddened with frustration, and he took a small stool to sit at the foot of the bed, silently watching me weep. I could no longer bear his gaze and turned to face the wall. He moved his stool closer, continuing to observe me with tear-filled eyes. I sighed. I resolutely closed my eyes, yet the image of his tear-streaked face lingered, refusing to dissipate. Gu Jingyan was being deliberate, employing this tactic to elicit my sympathy. Though my mind was acutely aware of this manipulation, my heart surrendered uncontrollably. Damn it, this male seducer. He frequently accused me of enticing him, yet his own allure was far greater. I capitulated. Resorting to a different tactic, I decided to leverage his parents against him. Based on experience, affluent families would not accept someone of my standing. I descended from the bed and approached him. He looked up at me. I wiped away his tears and said, Gu Jingyan, have you considered that your parents would not approve of our union? His eyes brightened with excitement as he embraced my waist, resting his chin on my abdomen, exclaiming, I can elope with you. I interrupted his fantasy. No, I am rather traditional. If your parents do not approve, I will not be with you. Gu Jingyan pondered for a moment before conceding, all right, I will speak to them tomorrow. Early the next morning, Gu Jingyan returned home. After his departure, I immediately summoned a locksmith to free my ankles from the shackles. As I anticipated, instead of Gu Jingyan, his mother arrived. A dramatic scene was about to unfold. I eagerly awaited Gu Jingyan's mother to thrust a check in my face, proclaiming, here, 5 million. Leave my son. However, the reality was that she pulled out an exquisite thermal box from a valuable bag. Unpacking it, she gently placed a sumptuous meal before me, smiling warmly. Auntie was delayed on the road. You must be hungry. Please eat while it's hot. I was momentarily taken aback by the sight of the kind-faced woman and the enticing aroma of the colorful dishes before me. My mind raced, struggling to comprehend this unexpected turn of events. Was it possible that due to the current economic climate, affluent families had shifted from monetary persuasion to offering home-cooked meals? With this thought, I could understand her approach. After all, securing a job these days was no easy feat. Moreover, her demeanor was amicable, leaving little room for criticism. Thus, I proactively stated, "Auntie, you need not worry. I promise I will not pursue your son and will never appear before him again." Her expression turned peculiar. "Do you not like Jing'an? He mentioned that if you and I agreed, you would marry him." Instinctively, I assumed she was accusing me and replied, "Please do not fret. That was merely a ruse." After observing me for a long while, she suddenly said, "Is that so? Then I shall not impose any longer. Jing'an is still at home resting. I must return to care for him." As she stood to leave, I hurried to stop her. "Wait, Auntie, what happened to Gu Jing'an?" A glimmer of amusement flickered in her eyes. As I pondered this, her voice trembled. "As soon as Jing'an returned home, he declared he wanted to marry you, but his father vehemently opposed. He then caused quite the uproar, and in a fit of rage, his father threw an ashtray at him, which struck his head, resulting in a profuse loss of blood. He has been unconscious ever since." Tears streamed down her face as she spoke. "The doctors say they cannot predict when he will awaken." I opened my mouth, yet no words emerged. How could this happen? I had thought that at most he would simply be confined. Had I known, I would never have allowed him to return. I could almost bring myself to slap my own face in frustration. It is entirely my fault. I was too presumptuous. With a bold demeanor, I implored Auntie Gu, "Auntie, may I go see him?" Auntie led me to Gu Jing'an's room, where the old gentleman was also present. From the moment I stepped inside, he began to scrutinize me. Ignoring his gaze, I slowly approached the bedside. Gu Jing'an lay quietly on the bed, his head swathed in thick bandages, his once vibrant and handsome face devoid of color. He appeared utterly lifeless. It was only this morning that he had seemed perfectly fine, and I had taken such good care of him. Yet, after just a brief return home, he had been reduced to this pitiful state. Suddenly, a surge of anger ignited within me. I turned to face the old gentleman, indignantly stating, "Uncle, do you not think you are being excessively unreasonable? Gu Jing'an is your son, not your puppet. His affections are his to choose freely. Even as his father, you have no right to interfere. Is it a crime for us to love freely? Why must you impose your desires upon him? I understand that you look down upon me because you believe I am unworthy of him, incapable of bringing wealth, power, or status to the Gu family. But these material concerns are transient. Do they truly hold more significance than your own son? Regardless of what you may do in the future, I will remain by his side. And please, I implore you, refrain from striking him again. If punishment is required, let it be directed at me. For I am the one who has seduced him, and not only that, I carry his child." For reasons unknown, the old gentleman kept glancing toward Auntie. I wished to continue, but Auntie suddenly coughed several times, blinking rapidly, and directed her gaze toward the bed, saying, "Jing'an, are you awake?" I turned back. "Baby." Gu Jing'an called out to me excitedly, attempting to rise from the bed. Auntie coughed again forcefully. I cast her a puzzled glance, to which she replied, "My throat feels a bit uncomfortable." Gu Jing'an lay back down, cradling his head. It hurt so much. Worrying, I rushed over to check on his injury. He embraced me tightly, rubbing his face against my chest. "Baby, is what you said about being together true?" Gu Jing'an's affection was both candid and intense. Indeed, throughout our interactions, I had unwittingly succumbed to his charm, though I had deliberately chosen to ignore it due to my own emotional barriers, reluctant to take that step. But now I yearned to let go and take a chance, regardless of the outcome, simply to avoid regrets. Gu Jing'an had a point. How could one know unless they tried? Perhaps he is a little angel sent from above to warm my heart. I nodded, "It is true." He released me, raising his hand in excitement and exclaiming, "Wonderful! I have a wife now." Why did he seem so spirited? I inquired with suspicion. "Does your head no longer hurt?" My peripheral vision caught a glimpse of a white mark on my shirt. "What is this?" I bent down to inspect it closely. In a fluster, Gu Jing'an held my face and leaned in to kiss me. "Wife, let us go obtain our marriage certificate tomorrow." The end of the tale. Thank you for listening, and until we meet again in the next story.